If you talk to anyone who's made the move of moving to New Zealand, they'll no doubt tell you all the good things that their life now involves. They've got so much more space, they've got nature on their doorstep, life is better. But the thing that not many people tell you about when they make that massive move to New Zealand is the homesickness that you feel when you leave family behind.
And it was just, it was gut-wrenching. I decided there and then I'm never watching one of those again. If anything happens, I'll fly back.
In this week's episode, we're going to meet Lisa. Lisa emigrated to New Zealand from Belgium. She left all her family, a very, very close family, sisters and brothers, and she's going to open up about how, after being in New Zealand for a year, she has suffered with terrible homesickness and how you can get over that if you're experiencing the same. So let's jump on in and meet Lisa.
It's a Drama, coming to you from Taranaki, New Zealand.
Hello.
Daddy, I love him!
Mother thanks you.
Right, Mr. DeMille, I'm ready for my close-up.
Lisa, I am so excited to have you to the show for anything else, because you are one of the very few people that I've actually met in person from our private community. And not only that, I met you in your home country of Belgium. So I'm so excited to be talking to you here in New Zealand. You've made it, Lisa. You made it.
Yes. Thank you for having me.
You are welcome. So will you just jump in for those who don't know you and let us know who you are and tell us a bit about yourself and why you're in New Zealand?
All right. So I'm Lisa. My husband, Jordy, and I, and our daughter, Kina, we moved to New Zealand just over a year ago in October of 2022. I'm a nurse and Jordy's a stay-at-home dad. So that's what we do here now. We always kind of dreamed about living abroad. We went to New Zealand on our honeymoon and absolutely loved it, but with no intention of moving at that point. I lived in Canada as a child, so definitely had some moving abroad and adventure spirit ingrained into me by my parents. And then I think during COVID, we kind of started thinking about the values in life and what we want out of life. And we did kind of feel like our house was getting a bit small in Belgium. And we just wanted a quieter lifestyle, more nature, not as crowded, because Belgium is quite small and very full. And we kind of tossed between Canada and New Zealand for a while, and still decided New Zealand had ticked a lot more boxes: the climate, the lifestyle, close to the beach, the friendliness of the people, the education. And so we decided to jump in. It took a while to get here, because Belgium not being English speaking, it was a lot of different hurdles to go over and get through to get registered as a nurse, to get visas. But we made it in the end. And that now seems like a shorter time than it actually was.
I was going to say, how long was it before you, when you actually said, we're moving to New Zealand, and when you actually landed here, how long was that time?
A year and 2 months.
Yeah, see, that's not, is it, at the time?
No.
Oh, it's going on.
I know. It does. And we did land as tourists because I did have to finish a course in Auckland first to get registered. So we kind of got our residency visas in February after that. So,
wow. Congratulations. I'm so happy you're here.
Yes.
You know, it always strikes me. I say this a lot, but when I meet Americans or English people, you know, from the United Kingdom, Canadians, South Africans, whatever, I always think, yes, it is a big move to New Zealand, but at least you haven't got that language barrier thing. And obviously English is perfect. Is Geordie's English perfect? And what about your little girl? How is it? What is it like to move from a country and to another country where English isn't, you know, your native tongue? How has that been?
Well, we did have to do the IELTS test before coming. I had to do the academic one. Jordy had to do the general one, but he even scored higher than me. His English is great. It was a bit of getting used to speaking it on a daily basis again, because I hardly had to do that in Belgium. I could read in English, watch English movies, but I rarely had to speak it. So definitely had to get back in the habit of finding my words. Our little one did not speak any English when we arrived. And so we just kind of dropped her in daycare and hoped that she would pick it up. First few weeks were tough. They did ask us to give little lists of words in Dutch that they would write down phonetically to say, like, mommy's coming back, or we're going to toilet, or eating, or whatever. But now she speaks both languages mixed together. Yeah, and she just spent the night at a friend's house this past weekend when we were at a concert, and it was no problem whatsoever for her to make herself understood and understand what's going on. So it's amazing.
Do you know, that makes me feel so happy, because we talked a lot in Belgium, me and you. Do you remember we sat on the side of the river there and we were chatting?
Yes.
And I remember you telling me that your biggest fear was from Kinnah. Oh, by the way, tell me about her name. I just love her name so much. Just tell me where your daughter, why Kinnah?
Well, we didn't even know that it was a Maori word.
Right.
I know a singer-songwriter that's named Kinnah, and I think she's half Japanese and have some Hawaiian influences. So that's where I first heard that, actually. And then coming here, apparently it's a sort of sea urchin.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Like, the little spiky black.
Yes.
And
there's even a beach near Nelson called Kinnah Beach, because it's full of Kinnah. And we went there last 2 weekends ago. We took her to see her beach.
Oh, her name place.
Yeah.
Oh, that's gorgeous. So so going back to me and you in Belgium, having that conversation, you were then part of our community, so we knew you, but you were concerned, and quite rightly so, about the fact that you were going to take your daughter from her family in Belgium, and not only that, how was she going to cope in daycare, and just how was she going to immerse herself into the life of New Zealand? So it's of great reassurance to me, and I'm sure to other people who are coming from Europe, to know that, because how old was she when she got here?
She was 2.5.
Right.
Yeah. So now we're a year later. She's 3.5, and now she has little friends in Kindy. We've had a play date. So we did some hiking in Nelson, and there was a 5-year-old, and they just hit it off immediately and were playing hide and seek. So it definitely did take some adjusting. And because she was that young, she couldn't really tell us about it, what she was feeling or how she was. She definitely was more clingy and unsettled at first. But that's just her way of coping with all these changes. Yeah.
And talking about coping and changes, in a minute, I want to get into, because you very kindly offered to talk about your journey with homesickness that every one of us goes through when we move to, well, I'm guessing everyone goes through when they move to New Zealand, but not many people talk about. So I'm really, really glad that you're here to talk about that, and appreciate it. But before we do that, I just want to just stay on the theme of Belgium, because again, it's one of those things, anyone who was European will know this, is like Europe is its own, I don't know, there's so much, Europe is so different from anywhere else in the world, isn't it? Your food, your architecture, your culture, the fact that you all sit out on the streets drinking wine at night, it's just everything about Europe is so Europe. And to me, moving from England personally, or moving from America, New Zealand to me wouldn't seem that much of a difference. It's just a better version of England, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It's not that different. And so I'm always intrigued by people, and you are no different, because like I say, when I met you in Belgium, we were in Ghent, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
And such a beautiful city, so vibrant, so European, so trendy and hip. And I see all the good sides of it. And like when you're saying, oh no, it was busy, but what was it about Europe that you wanted to get away from? I mean, I know you're saying about the more space, but was there anything else that you thought, do you know what, all that is worth giving up, and leaving my family as well, which we'll talk about in a minute? But what was it about New Zealand that was such a big draw that all that was worth giving up to you?
I think definitely the nature is a big part of it. There is just so much space here. It's incomprehensible how much space. My husband used to say the sky looks bigger here because you can just see so far. And the sky does look bigger. There's room there. It's never crowded. It never feels really crowded. The roads don't feel crowded. The climate is perfect for us. The winters don't get that cold. The summers don't get too hot. You don't have big, massive 40-degree heat waves that we really didn't like anymore. The government used to be quite progressive in New Zealand, which we liked as well. It has been some changes there. We'll see how that goes, but so far I'm not too worried because it does have a history of bouncing back from one to the other. I'm like, in a couple of years, it'll be Labour again. That'll be fine. But yeah, I think that's the major drawback for us, just a quieter lifestyle. It does feel like people in my family and my friend group, every weekend was jam-packed. Your calendar was just busy, 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 and you felt like you were being lived. And there was hardly any time to just spend a weekend with just your family, your core family, and go do things, go hiking, be outside. So we're definitely finding that time here.
That's really, really interesting. Thank you for sharing that. And again, a lesson learned, because when you go, it's very different going to Europe as a tourist, isn't it? And
yes,
you see all the lovely things, but like you say, you never know what it's like to be in that country unless you live there. And yeah, I appreciate you sharing that. It just sheds a different light, because I do hold Europe right up there, like as being, wow, why wouldn't anyone want to live in Europe? But like you say, when you talk to people, and now we are talking to more and more people from Europe, it's not as with anywhere, it's not the perfect place that maybe
no.
when you're a tourist, is it?
No, and I know a lot of Europeans are scared by the threat of Putin in Russia and those type of things too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell me about your family. Who did you leave behind in Belgium to move to Tauranga in New Zealand?
All right. So I was pretty close to my family. I have an older brother, a younger sister, and my mom. We all lived within a 10-minute radius of each other. Very easy to visit regularly. My mom's a huge family, so I have 20 odd cousins, all within my age range. Everyone was having babies, so we did meet up a lot. That was the hardest thing and the only thing holding me back, having to say goodbye to people. Yeah, I think I would never want to repeat that day at the airport.
Oh, do you think
No,
the airport with you?
Yes, only the close ones. I didn't want too many people.
That's
So
tough.
yeah, it was my mom. But even my brother's stepchildren who were supposed to be in school, they were like, nah, we got to be there. So they skipped a day of school to come and see us off at the airport. And yeah, it was just a big cry fest.
Oh, it's
It
heart-wrenching,
was.
isn't it? Yeah.
It is. Yeah. Yeah. And then, yeah, difficult. Now, Jordy's not as close to his family. So for him, it wasn't such a big deal. He knew it would be hard for me. Yeah.
Yeah. I've said this, excuse me, I've said this before, but I don't know if it's just women or not, but I think we just we're close to our family. Brian was the same. And when although he was sad to leave them, he was more like, yeah, but this is our adventure. And I was like, yeah, but what about my brother? What about my sister? What about but it's just, I don't know if that's a female thing or what. I don't know. But yeah, or whether if you're the one that's closer to your family, maybe, like you say, you are your brother and your mum.
Yeah. And I think because of our time in Canada as well, that made us even closer as a little family unit, because we had spent those 4 years in Canada without family.
You and Geordie did spend in Canada?
No, me and my siblings and my family.
Okay. Yes.
So that makes our little family unit was very close.
Yes.
Because of that time.
Right. I'm with you. Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's talk about you coming to New Zealand, and you've been here just over a year now, haven't you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Let's just talk about how you've been feeling with the homesickness. Did you feel homesick straight away, or did it just come on after a few months? Or can you just talk to us about that and let us know what that experience was like?
I think not at first. I was very much into the adventure. I had to start a course in Auckland. I was all for that, going for it. I think my husband had more of a culture shock the first week. He's like, are we going to do this? Maybe we should just travel a few months and go home. And I was like, no, 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 no. I spent too much effort getting here as a nurse. We're not just going home after 3 months. I was like, let's fully commit. Let's go. I think the first time I had a bit of because I finished the course before Christmas, and then we did some traveling to the Coromandel. So we were there at Christmas. And I think that was the first time it hit home a bit that, yikes, this is how it's going to be now. Christmas, just the three of us and everyone away on the Zoom call. And we did kind of set up the computers so that we would have Christmas Day breakfast and they could have their Christmas Eve dinner and we could like kind of do it together. I'm not going to do that again this year because it just felt a bit too awkward at the end. And I think we just need to agree a time of we're going to talk for 20 minutes, say hi, share about Christmas, and then just end the call because you're just sitting there trying to catch what they're saying and you can't really follow the conversation. You just kind of feel more left out afterwards.
Oh, good on you for doing that, though.
Yeah, we had to do something.
Yeah. And that's
but it
good.
was a good lesson.
Yeah, I was going to say it's good to know that it worked, whether it worked or not. So that's really, go on, carry on.
And then shortly after Christmas, my brother and sister-in-law, they lost a baby during pregnancy. So that was pretty bad. We were in Tauranga by that time in Airbnbs, but they did do a little online ceremony that I could watch. But because of the time difference, I was watching it at midnight in an Airbnb by myself. And it was just, it was gut-wrenching. I decided there and then I'm never watching one of those again. If anything happens, I'll fly back. Because it's nice to be able to still be part, but no one sees you. And at the end, your screen goes blank and you're just left all alone and you don't get the cuddles and the little chit chat afterwards to help process. So that was definitely a bit of a low point. Yeah. And then a month later in February, my younger sister, who's also my best friend, she had a baby. So yeah, that was a lot of emotions up and down.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna miss everything about this baby. We're not gonna see him until he's walking. And Jordy even said, if you want to, just go. If you need to, just go. But I was kind of worried as well. We'd only been here about 5 months. If I go now, I might get too homesick and not want to come back. So I'm like, no, it's okay. I'll stick it out. We'll stay here and get more roots down here before we make that first trip. Yeah. But the main thing I've always found is just being open about it because I get a lot more homesick than he does because I miss people. So I just tell him that I'm not having a good day. Like, it's that time of day I like here again, or, and he'll cuddle me. Sometimes I don't want to share and I'll just drive somewhere and put on some music that I know will make me cry and just have a little moment in the car.
I love you. You're so honest. That's just what we all do, isn't it?
It is, yeah. And you know what music triggers you to do that.
Yeah.
My sister even made me a homesickness playlist on Spotify. So that was just perfect. Any of those songs trigger lots of memories. So that's usually what I do. And then I think it was all right through the winter, actually, because, we had little trips planned. We went to the snow. There was Matsariki. So we had like little things to look forward to and kind of go on. I started a new job. I was really happy with that and enjoying that change. And then we even had a little Slack girls trip, which was so much fun. So that was lovely to have a women's weekend and just chat. Everyone was so open and it was amazing. We're definitely planning a repeat.
Oh, that's
good. Yeah, but then kind of September, October came around this year then. Yeah, and it got, I don't know, you just get it once in a while. You don't really, nothing usually has to trigger it. It can be just a nice song you hear on the radio and you think of someone. And what helped me one of the last times was putting up more artwork like up here. just making our home here feel even more like home, and trying to embrace that, like this is home. Let's make it more homely. Let's make it somewhere where I feel really well and really good. Yeah, and just accepting that it happens, and letting it come, feeling all the emotions, having a cry if you need to, or meeting up with someone to talk to if you need that. You kind of feel, sometimes you feel a bit guilty, like this was my decision. So why, like, I don't have the right to doubt it or feel sad about it or miss people because it was my choice to leave them. But yeah, it's tricky not to get down that route sometimes. But it was your decision to leave them, but that doesn't mean you can't feel sad about that.
That's so true.
Yeah.
God, there's so much I just want to talk about there. But let me. Was there only a time that did your family ever say to you, "Oh, just come home, just come back"? Did they ever put you in that position?
Not yet. I think my parents-in-law actually are more pushy towards that. They did send Kina a lovely, I'd asked for more Dutch children's books, and they sent a lovely story about an elephant that goes traveling because he's good at painting. But in the end, he gets homesick and goes back to his family in Africa.
Well, that's being ripped up.
But the first time I was reading it, I'm like, where is this going? And then like, oh, this is a hidden message.
You should have just added it at the back. But in the end, mummy and daddy and baby elephant all stay together.
Yeah. I do kind of add one because at the end, there's one final picture of the elephant and the Eiffel Tower. So I just say he went home for a visit and then back to Paris.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. It's
And
tricky.
Talking about that as well, it's really apparent actually. And that, well, it's apparent to me, I think, because I'm a very emotional, talky person as well. Like, I just talking about stuff. And I don't know whether that is just you as an individual person or whether that's from your culture. I don't know. But I don't know if you've found this, but I have found the Kiwis to be quite stoic when it comes to things like this. I don't mean that in a horrible way. I just mean that they have a different way of dealing with sadness and emotion. I don't know if you feel the same, but how. And that's, like I say, that's not all bad. That is actually, it works. Sometimes it really works. When you're feeling down and you're having a bad day and someone just goes, right, come on, let's get up. Let's get on with it. Let's go. You're like, oh, thank God. Like, they're not being all.
I needed that pull.
Yeah, I needed that just to snap out of it. How have you I know you've talked about the Slack group, and I'm so happy that we'll talk about that in a little while, about how you found this group of people within and that you're told on a community. But how have you found being able to reach out to Kiwis? Have you been given much sympathy? Have you found good friends? Or are your friends mainly from the group and therefore not from New Zealand? How has that been?
I'd say at this point, my friends are mainly from the Slack group and not Kiwis. I think having a toddler and not a primary school aged child definitely is a difference there. Because all the parents with primary school kids, the kids get invited to birthday parties. They have sports activities. They're all over the place, meeting people. The friends get together. Whereas the daycare, that's not so much the case. And I found it harder to make connections there and meet people there. I do feel like now that I'm in a new workplace, in the hospital, I had a lot more Indian and Filipino nurses there. And here it's a nice mix of international people and Kiwis in the practice where I work. So that's been really, really nice to finally make some connections with actual Kiwis and be able to ask questions like, how do you guys feel about this? Or what does Matariki mean to you? And then, oh, well, it's only been a holiday for 2 years, so it doesn't really mean that much at all yet. Like, it's just a day off. And yeah, I see what you mean about them being a bit more stoic and I don't think I would share any of my, like, I'll say like, yeah, I have homesickness once in a while, but we don't really talk much deeper about that yet
with
them. And Keen is now finally coming at an age where she has some friends. So I did put on like, you got to get brave up yourself for this as well. Like again and again and again, meeting new people and trying to reach out and be sociable. And some days you don't feel like it. But I did send little messages at the daycare. I told them to give them to certain kids' parents that I would like to meet up because Kina talks about their little kid all the time. And so we did finally have a little play date here a few weeks ago with two little girls. And there's a Christmas party tomorrow. So I hope to see those moms again tomorrow and kind of get that going a little bit. But it is a slow burn. And I guess I thought it might be a bit quicker. Yeah.
Did you anticipate this? Did you think to yourself, oh, it's obvious it's going to happen. I'm going to get homesick. And, just has it been worse than you thought it was going to be?
That's a hard one. I think I have been maybe a bit more than I thought I would be. Yeah. Because I think it's just at some points as well, after a year, you crave some familiar faces and just familiar things. And you just want to meet up at a familiar restaurant and just, if there's silences or breaks, it's not awkward. This person knows you down to your core. And after a year, you can't expect that same level of friendship that you've had with people. So it's tricky.
Yeah. That's so true. Just going back to what you said about your painting behind you, I'm looking behind you.
Yeah.
I don't know if you heard the podcast that I did with Tess, but she went down to Wellington and she was saying about how she felt homesick. And that's exactly what she did. She said, I just went out and rather than keep thinking of home all the time, I went out and bought new ornaments and new little knickknacks that were of Wellington, so it was this is my home, this is home now. Like I live here. So it just reminded me when you said that, that's such a great tip, isn't it? Just to create the new life that you have, to create new memories and the new routines and what you look at every day. And
I did also go out and all my picture frames had pretty dated pictures in them. Went out, got new pictures printed, put them all up. And even though, you look at them and it's your whole family and it does kind of inkling that sadness as well, but it's nice to have them up there and they're part of our family. And it's nice for Kina to be able to look at the pictures and ask me who's this and who's this and keep that incorporated. I think as well, what helps me now is that it's starting to be summer.
Yeah.
So it's heating up. The weather's lovely. You're doing so much outdoors. Summer's coming, Christmas coming, which as well is nice, even though it's a little sad, but it's lovely, that holiday. And now that we're finally settled, we have our Christmas decorations up. We put the tree up and it's just, it feels really cozy. And then as well, my mom is coming to visit in January. Yay. So the prospect of a visitor and then summer, it's all good now.
Everything's looking good, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah.
And it's brilliant when you know that they're coming over to see you because that makes such a massive difference because when they go back, you can say, oh, do you remember that little cafe that we went to? Or, Akina goes to, no. And
yes.
and you can connect and you have that connection and it's just bliss.
And you can show them why you chose New Zealand and why we love it here. Because not many, one of my cousins has been here, but other than that, none of my family has ever been this far. They don't really know it. It's a bit of a mystery to them. They don't know much about it, actually. The Lord of the Rings was filmed. That's about it. So it'll be good to be able to show my mom and my stepdad how beautiful it is here.
Why you moved.
Yes, why we love it.
Before I share, I just want to share something with you about someone who just emailed me, and I obviously won't say any names, but I just want to share that. But I just want to say, has it been worth it? Has this year, I know you've had a rough time with all the things that have gone on back home and not being there for your sister's baby and things like that. But has there ever been a time that you've just thought, do you know what? This isn't worth it. It was never worth it.
No, not yet.
Oh,
that's the adventure is definitely worth it. Even if we do, because we haven't put a timeline on it, even if we do in the long run end up going back, I try to keep that in mind as well. Like, this is our adventure right now. We got to seize the day, seize the moment, make the most of it. So that's why we do try and get out as much as we can and do little weekend trips here and there just to see as much as we can of New Zealand. Because if we stay home a couple of weekends in a row, we do get a bit of cabin fever. Like we got to go and do something.
Yeah. And you're living in such a beautiful part of New Zealand as well. It's just so lovely. So yeah, why wouldn't you want to go and explore? And I know you've just been to the Abel Tasman and things like that, haven't you? Just
Yes.
a walk.
Yeah.
So you're so inspiring because you're one of these families that are making the absolute most of living in New Zealand, which is just so fantastic to see. Not like us who haven't even walked up Mount Taranaki yet. And we've been here 15 years.
Have you not walked up the mount?
No. That's what I'm saying. I'm super inspired by you, Lisa.
That's insane.
I know it is. I know, don't tell me.
That's on our list of things to do.
Oh, well, when you come, make sure you come and see us.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just wanted to share this with you because someone emailed me the other day and they said that it was a lady and she just said, the title in the email was "Please help," and I thought, oh, what's this? And she was basically saying that she'd moved to New Zealand 5 years ago. They'd had their daughter over here. They moved with her husband. She had her daughter over here. She had a fantastic life. She had a really good job. Her husband had a really good job, but she desperately missed her family. Especially because she just had this little girl and it was all the guilt and like, she's not going to see her mum and my family and my sister and same sort of thing, big family back in England. Yeah. So they decided that it was too much and they needed to go back, and she said, we just couldn't do it any longer. And we decided to give everything up, all our friends. She said, we had a fantastic lifestyle. She said, we went back to England and she said, literally within a day of being there, she said, when I walked into my mum's front room and we sat down and we had a cup of tea and after all the niceties and all the, oh, we've missed you so much, we're all done. Yeah. She said, it just went back to how it was before we left. She said, we just looked at each other and we're like, oh my God, what have we done? And she said, and now we can't get back. She said, we haven't got the money to come back. And every day, she said, we just regret that decision that we made. And I just wondered if you could give me some advice on people who are missing their family and how they cope with it. And then me and you were arranging this podcast. Yeah. And I was like, oh, this is just perfect. So I just wanted to, I couldn't give her any advice because I don't know. I have never been in that situation. And all I said was, to people, this is your life. Like you said, this is your family unit now. This is your moving forward in your adventure. I know it's easier said than done, but it was just, I wanted to share that with you because sometimes it's good to hear the other side of the people that do actually go back.
Yeah. I have thought about that too, like all the reasons why we left. If you think of moving back, those reasons have not changed. None of them have changed. The people are there. That's the only thing. But the reasons why you left are all still the same. Yeah. There was one thing I was thinking as well. Everyone tells me, don't make those big life decisions on the low, like moving back. Don't make them when you're feeling extremely homesick.
Right.
That decision, but wait until you're in a better place again and have a clear mind to think about it.
Yeah, that's good advice.
Yeah, that was, someone told me when you're in that low point, that's not the time to make those decisions. And maybe she did.
Yeah.
So we have planned to go back in May of next year for a month. And I'm very curious to see how I'll find it, how I'll feel about it.
We've got to do another podcast.
Yeah, we have planned like a family weekend, even a Friday to Monday. That they rented a house out in the southern part of Belgium, which is more foresty. And just my mom, my stepdad, all their kids, all their grandkids are going to spend a whole weekend together. So I'm very much looking forward to that. Also for Kina to reconnect with her cousins, because play and being together is the best way for kids to connect. But then I'm also curious to see how I'll feel about coming back then to New Zealand after that time. Yeah.
I think
it'll be a test.
Yeah, it will be a test. Personally, I think you're going to be like, so let's get home. Let's just get back to New Zealand. I really, really hope that's the case because
I do too.
Yeah. And, I'm so proud of you. I am so damn proud of you because it is such a huge move. And like we talked about earlier, just that whole not just leaving the family, everyone has to do that, but leaving a whole different culture, just leaving a whole different way of life, you know, to completely change. So I'm so proud of you for what, you know, getting through and being here and being so positive. And I'm so happy your mum's coming over and you're going over to Belgium.
Yes. Yeah.
Even just knowing that you're going there is bliss.
It is. Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
Even if you were going in 2 years, it wouldn't matter. You'd know that you're going back. So it's like, oh, that's fine.
Yes.
I might see them then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was glad my work's quite flexible about it. Like, as long as I found someone to cover, if you want to take some unpaid leave, you go ahead. If you want to go a month, you go. They're not like nitty bitty about it. Like, oh no, you've only got, this is your allowed amount of time, which is very Kiwi, of course.
Yeah.
Like, family is important. And if you need to be with your family, that's fine. We'll make it work.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's very Kiwi.
Before we talk about the Slack group and just the community that you have there, because you have literally, you've got that best community. You've got I know Dunedin's going to argue with me on this, but they're like, because they always reckon they've got the best little group.
Yes.
The Tauranga group is just fabulous.
Yes,
just talk to me about that. How's that been for you, being part of that community and having
the Slack group community here was really life-changing, because, as I said, I found it hard to meet parents, and through Keena's kindy, I found it hard at first to connect with people at work. And so there was actually no one in Tauranga from the Slack group before we arrived. And then there were 3 families, and we all arrived in January of 2023 at the same time. And so we just immediately bonded. We meet up regularly. I still see them regularly. I consider Chrissy one of my best friends here. Keena spent the night there. It was lovely. It's easy. And then we've had some new arrivals since then, and they just join right in. So we've got Aileen and Stevie now, and Brianna and David as well. So that's lovely. And I think we're expecting another couple from London in January that are going to be in Tauranga. So yeah, it'll be lovely to meet them too. But having that support, and just because you even need to put like emergency contacts on your kids' sign-in sheet. You know, no one. They're not supposed to be someone international. They have to be New Zealand. So it's like, hey, can I put you down? Yes. Can I put you down for my kids? Yes, that's fine. So it was just lovely to have that kind of person, those people to invite to Keena's birthday party here, because that was May. So we didn't really have a big group then yet of people we knew. And it was just lovely to have someone that we knew and were comfortable with and wanted that same lifestyle. So it's been amazing. I'm forever grateful for that Slack group. I was just thinking about it yesterday, and like, if that hadn't been there, I don't know if I would have made it this far. I really don't.
That makes me feel so happy. I've got literally my legs are standing up on my arms, because it's just, I see you all meeting up and all the photos and things, and that was always our wish. And so when you hear it, it's just like, oh, bliss, like, you know, just that.
Yes.
Oh, it's gorgeous. It's absolutely lovely.
Yeah, it's worth, it's priceless. It's amazing. Yeah.
Thank you. I'm so glad you're part of it as well. Lisa, first of all, as well, thank you for being a nurse and, just bringing your skills to New Zealand. As I've been saying lately a lot, I really, really appreciate what you're doing here in New Zealand, and going through everything you've gone through and still staying and making this country your home. That makes me just feel really, really happy and proud. Is there anything else, as someone who is going through homesickness right now, any advice you would just like to give to them that has helped you that we haven't yet covered? Is there anything that I haven't mentioned?
Some good wine always helps too, I guess.
Yes.
Nice glass of wine. Yeah. Meet up with a girlfriend, have some wine, go for a walk on the beach if you're close to the beach. Most New Zealanders are. And if you need someone to snap you out of it, just say that as well. Like, hey, can we do something? I need a distraction. I don't feel like sulking all day, but sometimes you do need to have that day, and just take it to get out over it quicker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I am so glad that you're still here, that you made it. I can't believe, me and Brian were saying this morning when we were getting ready, it's like, can you believe the last time we saw Lisa, it was like just in Ghent and just on the side of the river there, and you were so nervous and so apprehensive about what you were coming to and had lots of questions. And now here you are, and you've been through that journey and moving on to really, really exciting times. I'm desperate now. I'm going to be meeting back up with you after you've been back home to Belgium. To find out what that was like and just everything that came with that. But thank you so very, very much for joining me today and chatting about a subject that lots of people just want to push under the carpet, quite frankly, because it's not, you don't really want to be talking about that because, like you said, it's the whole guilt thing of like, well, it was your choice anyway, you did what you wanted. Yeah. So you do, you don't feel like you can talk about it, but you very much can. And
you need to.
Yeah. Okay, my friend, I could talk to you for hours, but I'm not going to keep you any longer. But thank you so much for joining me. And
you're welcome.
A brilliant Christmas and a lovely time with your mum. And when you come to climb that mountain, come and knock on my door and we'll have it together.
We'll do.
Lovely talking to you.
Bye.
Speak to you soon. Bye.
I really hope you enjoyed that show as much as I enjoyed recording it. If you're moving to New Zealand and you are interested in joining the Slack group, the private community group that we raved about and talked about on today's show, then you need to head over and get our free 5-day video guide. This is a video guide that sends you a video every day for 5 days, sharing some aspect of what life in New Zealand is like. It's absolutely free. And then when you get to the 5th day, you will be given the option of whether or not you want to join the private community, the one that we talked about. It's a fabulous, fabulous resource. I don't need to say anything more because you've already heard all about it. Go over, take the free 5-day video guide, get to day 5, and then you can decide whether or not you'd like to be a member and join our private community along with me and Brian and all those other fabulous people that are walking along the same path as you and making the move to New Zealand. So head on over to www.nzahead.com/free. Head on over to www.nzahead.com/free and get your free 5-day video guide. Get to day 5 and then you decide if you want to come and join us in our private membership group. I hope to see you on the other side. Imagine this, you move from America with your young family and your husband and you come all the way across the world and make a new life in New Zealand. You've been here only 4 months, you've rented a house, everything's going well, and then all of a sudden a massive flood hits your house.
We're safe, our cat's safe. Let's just see what's going on tomorrow. So we sleep in the hotel, and the next day we go back to the house and it had completely flooded. So about a meter of water at least.
In this week's show, you're going to meet Ginger. Ginger is going to share with you what it's been like from start to finish when something so major happens, you're a new immigrant in the country, and Kiwi kindness really comes out to play.